Hey everybody, welcome to Black Lotus Live, where we talk about all things strange and unusual. And tonight, those of you who've been around for a while know that I'm fond of saying that Ralph and I are like paranormal magnets, because throughout our lives, we have experienced all kinds of paranormal things, anything from ghosts to shadow people to UFOs, to, well, in my case, alien abduction. And so one of the biggest reasons we created Black Lotus was because we wanted other people who have experienced this kind of stuff to know that they're not crazy and they're not alone. And that's why it's my pleasure tonight to introduce Les Velez, who is the founder of the Organization for Paranormal Understanding and Support. And it is a fantastic website. And I have a link to that dropped in the description. So most definitely go check that out. He also has a book on Amazon, and there's a link for that. Les, it's great to have you here.
Oh, thank you, guys. I really appreciate being here. It's a super opportunity, and I appreciate what you all do in this regard. This is the kind of show that needs to be out there doing what you do to spread the word that, hey, there's something happening, folks, and people need to know about it.
Most definitely, and, not only do people need to know about it, but like I said, the people who have experienced this kind of stuff, they should know that they're not alone, and what they experienced really was real. So
absolutely. This is a real quandary that these people have when they have an experience like that, having contact with non-human intelligences. And, at first they feel that they are going crazy, and they go to a psychologist or a psychiatrist, and they find out that they're not. They're perfectly sane. They do not have a psychopathology. So then what? Where do they turn? Who can they talk to? Oftentimes they have no place to turn to. They can't talk to their family members. They can't talk to their clergy. They can't talk to anybody that they work with. So it becomes this isolating effect, which is very damaging. And
I hate to use the saying, but it really applies. Who are you going to call? Who are you going to call, really?
Exactly.
Good one.
Exactly. And in 1994, a doctor friend of mine and I co-founded Opus, the Organization for Paranormal Understanding. And our mission, simply put, is to help people having paranormal experiences. And as it turned out, most of the experiences that we've been dealing with have been people contacting us with regard to contact with non-human intelligences. Now, more recently, we've started to get people talking to us about possession and demon contact and things of that nature, which is kind of interesting that things are starting to change a little bit. And I'm just wondering if what's going on in the world between COVID and the Ukrainian war going on is starting to bring out a lot of negativity that we've not seen to the extent that we're seeing now.
Right. And it's just terrible. For years and years and years, I kept my experience secret. I only told a few people that were very close to me. But, most of that time, I was questioning my sanity.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought maybe the whole thing was a hallucination, but no, it was certainly not. And I came to that realization later on. Les, are you still is your organization still involved with MuFON?
What we are doing right now is if people contact us and hit our support button on our website, opusnetwork.org, when they ask if for a case to be investigated, we refer them to MUFON.
I see.
Because they have the capability to do quote unquote an investigation. We are not set up to do that kind of thing. But other than that, that's the only affiliation that we have with them.
Okay. So you don't
in
actually work with
no,
them. Okay.
no. Now, to make things perfectly clear, I'm also a member of the MUFON ERT, which is the Experiencer Resource Team, as a research consultant. And I'm in the process now of doing some research, which we can talk about later on down the line here. But other than that, no, there's no affiliation. We were affiliated with them back in 2007, 8, 9 timeframe. I had contacted James Carrion, who was the international director at that time, and mentioned to him, that they were basically a nuts and bolts kind of an organization, and they were missing the boat on talking to people and helping people that are having, contact with non-human intelligence. There's a lot to be learned there. And so we set up an agreement where the calls that were coming into MUFON were redirected to me. And so I was getting those calls and I would contact these people and find out what they were looking for. And basically at that time, most people were looking for therapists, specifically hypnotherapists, to try to dig out more information on their experiences. And finally, after a number of years, MUFON finally the light bulb went off and said, okay, we're going to set up our own organization, and that is the ERT now that they have headed up presently by George Medich. So, but the bottom line on all of this is the fact that we're here to try to help people, and there's so many aspects to the phenomena, so many different characteristics of it, and it's not an easy thing, but. A number of years ago, we set up an online support group, which is totally confidential. The only way you get into it is to contact us at our website, opusnetwork.org, hit the support button, and then you fill out a short form, basically telling us contact information and a short bit about your experience and telling us what you would like. And some of the options are, one, to investigate the case, which we then turn over to MUFON, or we refer them to MUFON. We don't give them that information that we get. We just tell the people to contact MUFON at MUFON.com. Or do they want to have a therapist? If they want a therapist, we have a referral list of therapists. Or do they want to go into the support group? And 9 times out of 10, most people are looking to talk to other people that have had similar experiences in their life, which has proved to be the most beneficial thing that people have told us over the years, that thank goodness, you've got this. I know of other people having similar circumstances in their lives. I'm not alone, and a lot of these people that come to us have already gone to psychologists or psychiatrists and found out that they're not crazy. And so they come to our group and they start sharing their stories, they ask questions, and it's incredible the amount of information that comes out of those discussions, which at times blow my mind. I have a certain window of believability that I started with in 1991, becoming a field investigator for MUFON, and then going into cases which almost 9 times out of 10 turned out to be not only sightings but abductions. And then I facilitated a support group in San Jose, California, and that's where I really started to hear incredible stories from these people.
And it's really difficult to find a psychiatrist or psychologist who is sympathetic to the cause, And so I know you work with Lori McDonald, who is a fantastic hypnotherapist. And we've had her on the show a couple of times. And she's she's extremely intelligent. And talk to us a little bit about your experience with MuFON when you were investigating with them.
Yeah. It all started basically in 1985 when I moved out to California from Connecticut. I picked up the newspaper one day, and Stanton Freeman was going to talk about UFOs and the government cover-up, and so he was going to talk at San Jose City College, and so I went there expecting to see a handful of people, but the auditorium was packed, and he gave an incredible presentation. And afterwards, on the way out in the foyer, MuFON had a table there, an informational table, and they have a journal, a monthly journal that they publish. And so I started to get that. Well, after a while, that wasn't enough for me. And so they have a field investigator training course. And so I took that and passed the test and became an investigator. And my first cases, I went out with a more senior person, and as it turns out, most of the cases were not only sightings, but people talked about the fact that they had contact with non-human intelligences, and so that set me on the path to where I am today, based on the fact that these people asked me if I knew of other people, and I said yes. And then the next thing I'm doing, I'm facilitating a support group in San Jose, and the rest is history. When I got written up in an article in the Monterey Coast Weekly paper about what I was doing for MuFON and my investigations, and a woman contacted me that happened to also been written up in the article, and she says, I'd like to talk to you about what's going on with my brain when I'm in contact with these off-earthly entities. And I said, okay, thinking to myself, I have no idea how I'm going to help this person. And then she said she was working with an emergency room doctor down in Carmel. And well, that triggered another thing, because I had a doctor friend that was in MuFON and very interested in contacting other doctors that were involved with the phenomena. And so I called him up and I said, hey, do you want to go down there and talk to this lady and this other doctor? And he said, absolutely. So we went down there, and as we walked into her home, there was a picture on the wall. And she was in this picture standing on the back of a large boat. And I asked her, I said, what's this all about? And she says, oh, yeah, I was helping these treasure hunters find treasure. I said, really? So how were you doing that? She says, well, I was in contact with the captain of the galleon that had gone down. So that blew our minds, and we come to find out later on that she had a near-death experience, and afterwards she became extremely psychic and started to have all these contacts with past masters and all kinds of different things, not necessarily grays or reptoids or Nordics or, mantids or anything like that, but past grand, masters of philosophy and all these different things. So we had an incredible afternoon, and she was telling us stuff about ourselves that there was no possible way that she could know any of this. And so when we came away from there, we kind of said to ourselves, besides what I've been doing and his experiences with people based on his medical background, how can we help these people? And that's when Opus was hatched in like the late the early 90s. And then in 94, we officially became a nonprofit 501c3 organization recognized by the IRS, which always makes me laugh because here, the IRS and the paranormal, how does that go together? But anyway, that but all these things, talk about synchronicities, how this all comes to be. And there's been times when I've said to myself, okay, I've done enough, I'm backing out. But that's when things start to get really hot again, and people start calling me, and I start doing things that there's no way that they let me out of this, what I'm doing. This is my mission. And so yeah, it's remarkable.
I understand that feeling. Daily, I'm so sick and tired of modern ufology, with the infighting and all of that. And I just think, you know what? I'm just not going to play along with this anymore. But then something happens, and I'm like, oh God, here we go again.
Les, I was going to say that thank you for the work you do. I think it's really necessary. I think you're welcome. One of the aspects of the paranormal that is often overlooked, and it's one of the largest aspects about the paranormal, is the amount of human suffering it causes, because it does result a lot of suffering, and helping people is a good way of doing that. Now, going with this thread of helping human suffering, a question I've been trying to crack since I started this show by asking different people is a method of preventing alien abduction, basically. So my question to you is, with all your knowledge and experience, if you had to lead me in a certain direction, what do you think is a good methodology or practice to prevent alien abduction, if that's even possible?
Well, I always refer people to a book that was written by Ann Druffel, and how to defend yourself against alien abduction, where she talks about these people that had written to her and told her about how they stopped the abductions. And the one thing that seems to be very common among people that have been successful is that you need to be very positive about the fact that you want these things to stop, because there's always a bit of curiosity that goes along with the experience that remains in your subconscious, if not in your conscious. And that, who are they? Why me? All these questions come up. And so it leaves them open to these continuing experiences. So you need to be extremely positive about wanting to stop it, and being aggressive about it, being angry, being really, really mad about it, and saying, get the hell out of here. Stop this. I don't want it to happen anymore. And that seems to be one of the ways that people have, that I've heard over the years, been the most successful way to stop those things. Because the bottom line is that we are very what's the word I want to use here? We are very aggressive people. we tend to. I've had experiences where people have talked about biting the aliens and ripping arms off of grays and things of that nature. And so they don't want to mess with us, really. So if you really present this anger, it seems to work in a lot of cases. But
that's funny, because that makes a lot of sense as a biologist. In a very primal way, that makes so much sense. Like, one organism is harassing another one, like a monkey's harassing another type of monkey. What'll stop that interaction? Just heavy aggression, a heavy intention. Even when you get big in front of a bear, that aggressive motion. A lot of times in nature, it does stop the harassment. And that's interesting. It makes sense to me.
And on the other side of that coin, I mean, I've had a lot of people tell me that they want to be abducted. They want to meet aliens. And I tell them, be careful what you wish,
Absolutely.
It wasn't pleasant for me. I mean, at first, I thought it was very interesting. Yeah. At first, I thought it was very interesting. My abduction happened in 1988. I didn't remember until 1995, and what I could remember was interesting. I just thought it was an interesting thing that happened in my life. And then about a year and a half ago or so, Ralph and my wife and I were watching this movie called The Fourth Kind. and it's about
Wow.
these abductions that
That,
it's
that's a
based
rough
on the
movie.
yeah,
You ain't kidding.
in one scene, this woman is recounting her abduction and being on a slab and being examined. And a drill went toward her eye, and I flipped out. And it triggered the memory that I could never remember about being on the slab. And I mean, and to this day, I have PTSD because of it.
Oh,
And again, it's hard to talk to a psychologist about this, one you can trust.
right.
So,
Exactly. Where are you
so I
located?
appreciate what
Yeah,
you
where are you
do.
located, actually? Where's your physical?
Ralph and I are in Las Vegas,
Oh, Las Vegas.
yeah,
Okay. Okay. Because,
where if you
one
want
of
to see a UFO, you just look up in the sky. Pretty much.
yeah. Okay. No, one of the things too that we're always looking for are good therapists that are familiar with the topic, and that's hard to find. Um, but one of the things that you have Yvonne Smith down in Southern California, who is actually one of the advisory board members of Opus, along with Melinda Leslie, Terry Lovelace, and Linda Moulton Howe. She's
Mhm.
also an advisory board member of our group. So you know, uh, some of these people, some of these therapists will do it via Zoom or Skype. Uh, and I know Yvonne Smith. And she's really experienced with PTSD cases. I don't have off the top of my head anybody I know in Nevada at this time in the Las Vegas area, but that's something we're trying to fill all the states, all the areas with therapists that are familiar with the topic that can help people, because it's difficult to have to travel long distances to get
Right,
the kind
right.
of help you need. But we're continuing to try to do exactly that.
I've heard that before that psychotherapists are really hard to find in Nevada. And I'm not sure why, but
Yeah,
because I know that there are a lot of experiencers here, whether that be UFOs, aliens, ghosts, whatever.
yeah,
There's a lot of paranormal activity that happened.
Yeah, if they
Excuse
don't
me.
find the right doctor, no, God knows what had happened.
Right.
Misdiagnosed for a lot of them.
yeah.
You uh, you mentioned Terry Lovelace. We've had
Yeah,
him on the show a couple of
right.
times.
Yeah.
He's a great guy, and his experience was extremely similar to mine with the big black triangle and all of that.
Uh-huh.
But yeah,
Yeah, he's not too far from where I am here in Texas. And
Oh, where
matter of
are you
fact,
in Texas? I'm near Houston.
oh, you're in Houston. I'm up north, just northeast of Dallas, town
Okay, not
called
too far.
Allen, Texas. But
Not too far.
yeah, if you want to drive that far, you
6
get on a
hours.
plane. Get on a plane. But yeah, Terry also just became a hypnotherapist.
did he really?
Yeah. So, matter of fact, I sent a client to him. I need to follow up and see how that all went, as a matter of fact. But yeah, he decided that he wanted to try to start helping people in a bigger way, and so he went through a certification process, and he's a smart fellow, that's for sure. And so it's great that he's doing what he's doing.
Maybe I'll contact him because we know each other, and he might give me a
Yeah,
break on the price.
sure. Absolutely, absolutely. You should contact him if you have any issues contacting him. Let me know.
Okay, yeah,
I have a
definitely.
lot of people that call or text me and ask for help. Same issues, everything under the umbrella of the paranormal. And
Hmm.
then I have to go through my friends list and find out the doctors on that specialize in certain things, and that takes time.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
for sure, for sure. Well, one of the things we're constantly looking for are mental health practitioners, hypnotherapists,
Again,
doctors.
that know and understand the
Oh yes,
Yeah.
oh yeah,
topic,
oh yeah.
because that's
That's
the key right there.
oh, absolutely. You don't want to send somebody to,
Hmm.
the first thing they'll do, especially if you send them to a psychiatrist, they start, giving them drugs
Right. Right.
Right.
to
Either
suppress
that or
whatever's going on.
institutionalize them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Les, I wanted to get your opinion on something. Recently I made a list. There was like 5 things, and it's basically why scientists don't take the paranormal seriously. But I want to talk about one of those things I've been thinking about recently. And one of the reasons why scientists don't take the paranormal seriously, and to back up, the reason why science needs to take the paranormal serious is because then we can make a lot of advancements. We could quickly learn a lot about it. But one of the reasons why is because paranormal activity is uncommonly reported or observed. So I think that what would help science take it seriously is if more of the people who have paranormal experiences come out publicly. If everybody that I understand why people don't do it, but if everybody who had a paranormal experience came forward, then it would become a more serious issue. At least that's what I think, and it would push more.
And that's a good point. And the downside of all of that, unfortunately, is that there's a large fear factor involved with these people coming out. Whether it's losing a job, losing family members who think they're crazy. There's a lot that goes into coming out. Just recently, Adam Burns, who is one of the stories in my book, The Unknown Other, who tells about his experience, was on Linda Moulton Howe's show last night. And telling about his experiences, and he's an artist, and so he's drawn these fantastic. You might want to consider having him on your show.
Awesome.
Adam Burns. I mean, he's a fantastic experiencer, along the lines of a Terry Lovelace. But he's also an artist in the drawings that he's done of the mantis being, which he felt was a female and very loving, very, very in charge of the whole operation, and very forthcoming with information. Just unbelievable. So, and I have a lot of that in his story in the book. So that's another person that you might want to consider having on your show, Adam Burns. And I can give you his contact information. Just let me
Please do.
send me a request and I'll get you that.
That'll be fantastic.
He's one guy that wants to come out and wants to talk about it.
Okay.
And a lot of these people that are involved with this kind of a thing are almost being requested by these entities that, hey, you need to write a book. You need to go out there and tell your story. You need to do this. And this is something that's happening worldwide. This is not just a U.S. type of a thing. This is happening all over the world. Back in 1992, the Roper organization did that survey that Bud Hopkins and David Jacobs asked for and funded by Robert Bigelow, that 6 million people had experiences in the United States alone. And move forward in time, it's like, how many more people are having experiences? And it's a worldwide phenomena. And my theory is that we've all had experiences, but we don't remember them for whatever reason. We've all had these kind of experiences. And one of the stories, and stop me if I've already said this, because I've been on a couple of shows already today. So one of the things that I was in a support group meeting, and one of the people told me, I've seen you before. I said, really? At a UFO conference, at the gas station, wherever? And he said, no, I saw you on board a craft. I said, really? And I kind of blew it off. I kind of disregarded it. And it was like a year and a half later that a totally different person said, I saw you before. I said, really? UFO conference, same kind of questions. And no. You were sitting on a bench naked on this craft and you were freaking out. And they told me to go over to you to calm you down.
Right.
Well, at that point, I decided, okay, I'm going to go get regressed. I'm going to try to find out what the hell is going on here. And after 3 separate regressions, I found out nothing in that regard, but I had multiple past lives, many past lives. And then after a subsequent conversation I had with another person, they said, well, maybe you had this experience in a past life, and that's why you don't remember it right now. And that's certainly a possibility, because one of the things that Adam Burns talks about in the book is reincarnation, and that the aliens say, yes, this is part of the universal process, reincarnation. And so I tell you, it is incredible, the breadth and width of this phenomena, and the fact that we don't understand so much of it, you know, if any of it.
It's almost
And
like, where do we start? Where do we start? It's almost like we're dumped in an ocean and we don't know anything around it.
exactly,
That's how the paranormal feels to me.
yeah, you're
I'm
absolutely
finding
right.
that that's kind of a common theme, that people eventually in their lives, they'll meet fellow abductees that they were on the same craft.
Mhm.
And that actually happened with me not too long ago. I met a woman. She has her own podcast, and I was telling her about my experience. And she told me later, she says, as you were telling me about this experience, I remembered what had happened to me. And she, you know, I had told her while I was on the slab, there was a man to the right of me and a little girl to my left. And I estimated her age to be about 10, 11 years old. And I said, how old were you at that time? And she says, 11. And we started recounting the same experience with each other. And I can say her name. She's been on the show. Her name is Rachel Corpus, just a great woman. But yeah, I'm finding that that's a common thing to happen, that you do meet your fellow abductees later on in life.
There's so many synchronicities in this regard. I had taken a hypnotherapy course. This is years ago. I'm not practicing hypnotherapy at all, but I took this course, and in the process of taking that course, this was with a group of other people, and at a portion of that session, we one of the people would hypnotize the other person, and then they would start telling stories about what they were experiencing. And so I was with this other person, and then there was a woman working with another person across the room. And at the end of that session, we had to tell our stories. And my story was that I was a Greek soldier. This is in the Hellenic period. And that I was getting married to this woman near the Aegean Sea. And I went into more detail. I can't even remember more of the detail. But all of a sudden, this woman on the other side of the room jumps up and says, holy crap, it was you. And it's like she's telling me that she was the person I was about to marry. And it was like, oh my goodness, how the heck
Wow.
can anything like
That's
that
cool.
happen? So we just are so far down the rabbit hole, and with all this, it is just amazing. It's amazing. And people that have had these experiences that come away with healing abilities, or are healed, or psychic abilities, you know, it's phenomenal. People with psychic abilities to be able to tell people about their past, but also their future. You know, this one story, you guys have probably heard this a million times, about this doctor, a woman that had gone down, I forget her name at the moment, but she was on a kayaking trip down in South America and went over a falls and got trapped in the bottom of the falls for over 30 minutes.
Whoa.
And during that time, she had this contact with these entities that were very loving, very, very powerful spiritually, and she was ready to just to go with them. And they said, no, 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 you have to go back, you have things to do. And then they told her at that point that her son, who was a little boy at that point, would have an accident and die when he was 18.
Oh,
Well, she came out of this thing and kind of forgot about it. She obviously probably didn't believe that.
right.
And sure enough, and she never told her son any of this. When he turned 18, shortly thereafter, he was in a car accident and died.
Wow.
So, what the hell is going on, folks? I mean, this is the kind of stuff that you know. There, how can you explain that? Is time is not critical. It's like, you can go. It's like a continuum. You can just put your finger in one area and then you'll know what's going on there, or put it in another area and then you know what's going on there. It's just phenomenal.
In your experience, have you discovered that alien contactees all share a common psychological characteristic?
No, I can't say that. I can say that there seems to be some interesting things with regard to their occupations. A lot of them are social workers. A lot of them are involved with communication, writers, things of that nature. People that have the ability to put the word out. So to me, that's very significant. But as far as a psychological background, it's difficult to say. All these people do not seem to have a psychopathology. That's certainly number one. And as far as religious backgrounds, it's all over the place. And a lot of them don't aspire to any particular religion. It's kind of broken up between males and females, although we seem to have more females in the support group than males. I think men are a little bit more hesitant about sharing, and so for whatever reason. But yeah, I don't know. Do you have a thought on that?
Well, I do think that most contactees that I've spoken with changed their worldviews after their contact. And that certainly was the case with me.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Maybe I misunderstood your question, but absolutely. I mean, one of the common things that people come back with afterwards is, hey, we need to be better stewards of the planet. We need to be better to one another. And so it becomes a real spiritual journey, not a religious journey, but a spiritual journey that is very positive. It's extremely positive. And like 70 to 80% of the people that are having experiences don't want them to stop. And so the majority want this experience to continue. And we just finished the first phase of the omega-4 study, which is a follow-on to the omega-3 study. How clever of us. And where we went out to therapists that work with the people that have had contact with non-human intelligences. And we found out that the majority of the people are dealing with grays, but then also the second thing is orbs, the third thing is interdimensional beings, and the fourth thing is poltergeist activity, ghosts.
My favorite study is poltergeist. Out of both.
So yeah, so that's very interesting, but these people are looking for someone to reduce the stress, or PTSD type of a situation, to be an empathetic ear, to not be judgmental, and so it's the kind of thing that we are finding more and more people that are aware of this. A lot of Dolores Cannon's people that she has put put out there with QHHT type hypnosis has seemed to be very beneficial. Adam Burns, as a matter of fact, is working with a therapist that is familiar with the QHHT methodology. So there's so many ways you can go with this phenomena. Physical aspects, the implants, hybrid conversation,
Yes.
the psychological aspects. Part of the book, I talk about James McCampbell, who is a physicist that went to UC Berkeley, and who I knew because he was a member of MuFON group up in Northern California, where I was. And he wrote a book called ufology. And in that book, which is it's a rare book now, but you can find it on Amazon. I think it's like $900 now for a copy.
Wow.
But he talks about the physical aspects of contact and how microwave energy and gamma rays and X-rays have effects on people and how it affects people. People talk about a metal taste in their mouth or heat that they feel. All these different effects, buzzing in the ears from contact. So there seems to be a lot of scientific reasons why people are having these type of effects, especially if they get too near these craft. So I talk about that in the book and all his findings.
Let's talk about the hybridization.
Welcome.
I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, saying hi to Rich from GoofOn.
Richie,
hey,
Rich.
Rich,
I love you, buddy. I hope you're doing good. Here's a hug. What a great guy.
He's just so sweet.
Let's talk about the hybridization program. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I remember, first getting involved with it, I kind of disregarded it to a certain extent. But then the more people I talked to and the more I read about it, the more I feel that it's real. It's happening. And then the question is why? And I think that there's probably a couple of things going on. I think one is, and this seems to be pretty widely felt as one of the reasons, that these entities are in need of our DNA, and they need to start processing in a way to continue their existence, because without it, they may be gone. And so that seems to be one of the things that people talk about as a reason why this hybridization process is going on. And then, of course, the other side of the coin is that if they're doing this and they're getting so good at it, like David Jacobs talks about in his book, he calls them hybrids,
Right.
that you can't tell them from you and I.
Right.
You could be a hybrid. We all could be hybrids, and we don't know it. That's another factor. And why is that happening? Is that because they want to take over in a way that they don't have to pull out their ray guns or anything like that? So it's still very interesting. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the book called Rachel's Eyes by Helen Luttrell. It's a book about
A friend of
her
mine
daughter.
recommends that highly.
Oh, yeah. It's a book about Helen's daughter who went to school with a hybrid. And this hybrid was unusual looking. And she was brought special food by military people. And so they were kind of acclimating her to being in with humans.
Right.
And so that one is a head scratcher, because why in the heck would they be doing that? And so evidently there's more crashes going on this planet than we realize. And these aliens are being taken to a base in Nevada somewhere,
Right.
supposedly 90 miles southwest of Ely, Nevada, which I've been tempted to go out there and try to find it, but haven't done it yet. And that they're working with them, maybe experimenting even, which is probably the most logical thing that's going on, to see if they can hybridize these aliens to a certain degree. It gets very complicated very fast. And, your guess is as good as mine as to what the real story is.
Do you think that
one of the hybrids could easily acclimate a lot of people at one time, whereas vice versa, it works the same way, vice versa as well, where a lot of them see the one and they get used to it. They learn to get used to, working with them.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Anything's possible.
Do you think it's possible that the reason they're doing this hybridization is not to take over the Earth, but to clean up the Earth as it is, and try to change our mindset, and our barbaric behavior?
Yeah, I think that's certainly a possibility as well. And that's a good point. I think that that's one way of getting rid of our warlike traits, and hopefully being more concerned with our ecology, our fellow man, stop having all these wars, and of course I would really like them to step in and get Putin to change his mind and get the hell out of the Ukraine, but that's a whole nother story.
Yeah. It's in our nature to go to war with one another, but I think that can change, but it's going to take a major shift in consciousness for it to happen.
I would say if these aliens, wherever they are, whatever they come from, if they are, this would score major points for them. If they are at all trying to stop us from becoming extinct, that's a big thing. And the reason why I say that is because I don't think people realize how like blasé or how boring it is if we were all to become extinct, because it's happened so many times. It's happened 7 times already. We've had mass extinctions where everything dies. It's, we make it out to be a big deal. Oh my God, we're going to be extinct. But me as a biologist, I'm like, who cares? It's like, that's not news. The fact that humans may go extinct, that happens all the time. It's not a big deal. So I'm saying, if these aliens, I think they know it also. They know that if all the animals today become extinct, they're probably also thinking, in the large scale, who cares? It's just a blip. But if they are at all trying to stop us from becoming extinct, that is a big move. It is a big show of support, I think.
Well, I think there's a big difference between animals going, dinosaurs, what have you, all these 7 extinctions, between that and causing your own extinction. And I think that's what's going to happen with us,
No, extinction is extinction. I mean, the other 7 ones happen for different reasons, but it's almost like it's built into the system as well. Part of me thinks that mass extinctions are actually necessary to sustain life on the planet, or if you need to have mass extinctions to keep the planet healthy, or if you're smart enough, you could replicate a mass extinction yourself, so you could kind of stop all the damage. But there is this theory in biology called the intermediate disturbance hypothesis. A quick summary: it says if you have a forest, you want it to be healthy. If no disasters ever happen, that's bad. Eventually, it'll outgrow itself and it'll ruin the ecosystem. If too many disasters happen, that's bad too, because you never recover. The ideal area for that forest is for some disasters to happen sometimes. And I believe you can expand it to the planet.
Yeah. It's like forest management, where they talk about the fact that fires could be a very good thing.
Absolutely.
To get rid of the bark beetles, which were decimating a lot of forest in the Sierra Nevadas.
Two other reasons why the fire would be good is because there's some seeds that need fire,
the
heat.
Yeah, like the giant sequoias. The seeds need that fire.
Absolutely. The other thing is that the trees become too big, they cover up the sunlight, and so nothing can grow underneath. That's also bad.
Right.
I'm sorry to
Right.
interrupt you, but yeah, go
Yeah,
on.
no, that's absolutely true. I totally agree with that. There needs to be some type of a natural event, and a lot of it was lightning strikes that caused
Right.
major fires. I mean, when I was growing up, you heard about it all the time. You didn't have these wackos out there, arsonists setting fires, but Mother Nature was doing her thing.
Exactly. I have two guilty pleasure questions to ask you.
Okay.
So, okay, so here's the question. I want to give you two topics, and my question is, do you have any experience with these topics? Has anyone come to you? And if not, what are your general thoughts on this topic? Okay, so one is black-eyed children and black-eyed people, and the other one is dog-headed, upright canines or dog-headed men. Are my two topics.
Boy, I have no answer to any of that.
That's an answer that's an answer by itself.
Okay. Sorry, I don't have more
No,
information
it's
on
okay.
that.
Les, do you
Now,
ever have anybody
as
come
far
to
as
you about? Oh, I'm sorry.
no, I was going to say, as far as people that have had experiences, there seems to be a predominance of green eyes or hazel eyes type people having experiences. So I'm not sure what that means, but it seems like there's a predominance of that kind of color eye with experiencers.
All right. Well, that's new information to me.
Do you ever have people come to Opus seeking help about their encounters with Sasquatch?
No.
No.
Now, a corollary to it is the fact that a lot of people have had experience with Sasquatch that I'm aware of, and also there's been sightings of UFOs, and they seem to go together pretty often. But as a rule, no, we don't get people coming to us talking about Sasquatch.
There's many
funny,
reports like that.
I would say that's probably because Bigfoot is a phenomenon, is a living thing, is something that avoids humans, whereas aliens or greys is something that is attracted to humans. That just seems to be the pattern for these two organisms.
Right. But anyway, I think we're going to get out of here for the night. Les, as always, it's a pleasure to talk with you.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it, guys, being with you tonight. I appreciate what you guys do, and I wish you the best of luck in the future on what you do. And if you ever like to chat some more, let me know.
I certainly will. Yeah, most definitely. Viewers, thanks a lot for watching. Make sure to check out the Opus website. It's listed in the description, and also check out Les's book at Amazon, and that's also listed. But don't forget to like and share. Please share. If you have friends that are into the topics we talk about here, most definitely share it with them and share it to your socials. And if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe. And when you do, hit that little bell so you're notified every time we do this. We do this every Sunday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. So most definitely join us again. And so until next time, keep thinking and question everything.